KSAT 12, live, local, late-breaking, the 6 o'clock news.
A wild and dangerous bank robbery and shootout with police today along Interstate 35 in and south of San Antonio.
Another life taken on San Antonio highways. And again, a man's accused of drinking and driving the wrong way.
Good evening. I'm Leslie Mouton.
And I'm Steve Spriester. A 27-year-old man killed early this morning by an alleged drunk driver going the wrong way on I-35. The impact happened around 3 a.m. on I-35 near Thousand Oaks. 27-year-old Phoenix Thornhill died in the crash. The wrong way driver was injured, but not seriously. Witnesses say Thornhill's car caught fire. Passersby stopped and tried to put it out with a fire extinguisher. They could not. Thornhill was trapped inside the burning car, crushed behind the wheel. Police say 24-year-old Jeffrey Tate was the man allegedly driving drunk. He suffered a broken leg and is being charged with intoxication manslaughter.
We now know the victim was headed home for Christmas, headed out of state for the holidays. Eric Barajas is live with more on that. Eric?
Well, Leslie, Phoenix Thornhill is from Alabama. His family's still there, and that's where he was headed last night. Here's a look at the 27-year-old. We spoke to his ex-girlfriend earlier. She tells us he went to a friend's wedding last night. It wrapped up about 11:30, and he went home and packed. That put him on the road just after 2:30 in the morning for a Christmas homecoming with family and friends in Alabama. But as we now know, he never made it out of San Antonio. His ex-girlfriend tells me his family is understandably shaken and distraught.
I think it's a terrible thing to happen this close to Christmas because now they have Christmas on hold. I mean, they're not even sure when or if they're having Christmas because they have to deal with all of the funeral arrangements now.
Well, his friends tell me they are trying to schedule a wake for him here in San Antonio sometime next week. However, his family does want his body transported to Alabama for burial. Live on the west side, Eric Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Eric. A bank robbery and a running gun battle between police and 3 armed men. It began around 10:30 this morning at a San Antonio Federal Credit Union at 1604 in Chase Hill. That's on the west side. The men shot at police and innocent motorists during a chase of more than 40 miles down I-35, ending south of Divine when the robbery suspects lost control of a pickup they were in. No civilians were injured, but a state trooper was grazed by a bullet and was taken by Airlife to University Hospital. He's in serious condition tonight. One suspect hit in the eye with a bullet and was taken to Wilford Hall. The other 2 suspects taken to a Pearsall jail. Gina Galaviz joins us live with more on these suspects arrested. Gina?
Steve, the 4-county chase ended here on southbound 35 at the Medina-Frio County line. The maroon pickup truck is still on its roof where it landed after one of the suspects lost control while trying to get away from the law. All the accused bank robbers are from San Antonio. That is one of them handcuffed while evidence techs take gun residue from his hands. He and 2 others accused of holding up the San Antonio Credit Union on San Antonio's northwest side. All were wearing body armor and carrying semi-automatic weapons. That's something seasoned police veterans have never come across in this area. Police say the suspects were firing at officers, Bexar County deputies, DPS troopers, as well as innocent motorists.
As you're listening to the radio, you know, you're saying prayers because you're just hoping that the officers that are going to try to apprehend these individuals aren't going to get struck by a bullet.
The suspects are identified as 23-year-old Michael Hurtado, his 24-year-old brother Laborio Hurtado, and 24-year-old Armando Contreras. Michael Hurtado is at Wilford Hall Medical Center, hit in the eye with a bullet fragment. The other 2 men are in the Frio County Jail for now. Several charges are pending, and they will include attempted capital murder. As you're looking, evidence techs, DPS troopers, SAPD still here at the scene collecting evidence where the vehicle rolled over, they're collecting bullets and other kind of evidence. The suspects will eventually be brought back to San Antonio. Their new address will be the Bexar County Jail. We're live on southbound 35 at the Medina-Frio County line. Gina Galaviz, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Gina. It was a nightmare. Something right out of a movie. Drivers along I-35 all of a sudden finding guns pointed in their face, hearing bullets hit their cars. Natalie Chandler live with some of their stories.
The suspects pulled out a gun on Highway 90 near General McMullen and began shooting, and it's hard to believe no one was hurt.
Driving down the road, got passed by a maroon Chevrolet, stuck a semi-automatic out the back window and started firing.
At least 4 other drivers experienced the same thing. Their vehicles now full of bullet holes that somehow missed their bodies. More than a half-dozen police officer vehicles also damaged after the suspects used a semi-automatic weapon to fire from their truck.
They got about a half a car length in front of me, and the guy in the back seat just turned around and set the machine gun. The back of their window was all blown out. He just had the machine gun in the back of the truck and just went after it. I saw him lay it up in the window and I laid down and that was it.
Residents in this area say they heard at least 12 gunshots, but again, no one on this stretch of Highway 90 near General McMullen was hurt. We're live west of downtown. Natalie Chandler, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Natalie. There are still questions to be answered in today's wild happenings. KSAT 12 will continue to work on this story, and we will bring you the latest information as it becomes available.
To other news now, they fled their hurricane-damaged cities more than 3 months ago. Some survivors escaping with only the clothes on their backs. Today, the last of the evacuees leaving the shelter that they've called home. One of them tells us how his life has changed.
Elmo Lumpkin leaving the shelter at Kelly, USA, but he's not going back to his old home in New Orleans.
I'm going home.
Where's home?
Texas. I have an apartment that I'm going to, and this is going to be where I will be until God calls for me.
One by one, boxes of his belongings loaded into a taxi bound for that new apartment, a new beginning. A far cry from his life before Hurricane Katrina.
I've seen all that wrongdoing and all this here. You know, I used to walk sometimes scared to death. Thought somebody probably hurt me or do me something. But things happen like I survived.
Elmo taking that spirit with him and putting the hurricane behind him as he starts his life on his own in San Antonio.
I'll find a way to enjoy Christmas.
We wish him well. FEMA moved out all the residents today, and some, like Elmo, getting an apartment. Others staying at hotels in the San Antonio area. FEMA says its next challenge, finding permanent homes for the 2,500 people who are living in hotels here.
A man hospitalized tonight with serious injuries from a fight at a local club. The 36-year-old man was at RJ's club on Culebra about 1:30 in the morning when he began arguing with another man. The other man pulled out a gun and fired, shooting the victim in the arm. The man was then dropped off at the fire station down the street. He was then rushed to the hospital. Police are still looking for the shooter.
Instant traffic. We're going to check out I-10 at Frio. You can see things actually moving along very smoothly as people maybe have a long weekend ahead of them.
I bet there are a bunch with long weekends. Well, just 2 more nights before Santa's sleigh comes loaded with gifts, but the jolly man himself paid some starry-eyed kids an early visit. Dozens lining up, getting their last-minute wishes. Santa visited the west side. He brought some early gifts with him. After hearing all those requests, we asked Santa what everyone wants.
Mostly for those Xbox 360s and stuff.
You got plenty of those in stock?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a little hard getting down the chimney with all of them, but I'll do my best.
Steve Spriester, that's what you want, isn't it?
He got my letter.
He got your letter. You know the rules, though. Only those on Santa's nice list can expect to have their must-haves under the tree. Are you on the nice list?
I hope so.
Space-age approach to gastric bypass surgery, a robot performing the procedure.
Plus, ho, oh no, just 2 shopping days left in all, and many people still need to make a trip to the mall.
Good evening. Coming up later in Big Board Sports, the Indianapolis Colts and the entire NFL are grieving over a loss this evening. And Saints receiver Joe Horn wasn't too happy with the change at quarterback. So what's he saying one game later? Coming up later in Big Board Sports.
It's year-end clearance.
One San Antonio family is going to have a very Merry Christmas now that Private First Class Jason Johnson has returned from Iraq.
It's my only Christmas present that I really wanted. Just to have him home. He's out of harm's way now. Thank God for that.
Private Johnson escaped injury on at least 3 different occasions while serving with the transport company in Mosul.
All right, with only 2 more shopping days till Christmas, many of us will be rushing to pick up some last-minute gifts. Angela Veerville visited one of the city's newest malls to check out the crowds.
At the new Shops at La Cantera Mall, Santa is taking a break to distribute pre-Christmas treats. But not everyone has time to spare. Shoppers are out in droves as the holiday nears.
La Cantera's doing great. You know, we have wonderful traffic here and some great sales, and all the merchants are just thrilled.
The Commerce Department says so far the holiday season has turned in a mixed performance, with the nation's retailers expected to increase discounting in these final days. At La Cantera, some merchandise is already being sold at reduced prices.
What seems to be on many people's holiday shopping list this year? Well, first of all, it's the ever-present iPod, and then anything shiny, like jewelry or spangly purses.
These purses are very popular. We're selling the small ones, large ones, all of them. We're just running out and just keep on selling them.
This year, my husband got the new iPod, and so he's over there, so he didn't hear me say that.
Whether it's the Xbox 360 or any other hot item on your list, remember, if Santa misses something, you can always take a tip from this young shopper.
Who are you buying that for?
Myself.
Angela Veerville, KSAT 12 News.
Oh, yes, Christmas is but a few days away. And there you see Christmas lights and now a beautiful sunset. Kind of looks like Christmas lights in the sky.
Yeah. Steve, I got to tell you, I'm hurt because Leslie said, do you think you're going to make the nice list to me?
She said that to you?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
What about you?
Did you get your charcoal?
No, not yet. I'm expecting it from her, though.
That's what I got. But actually, I need it, so it turned out to be quite handy.
I knew that.
Exactly. What's the weather going to be as we move toward Christmas? We'll check that out. And aquifer level is dropping off with all the dry weather we've had recently. We had trace amounts of mountain cedar. We think the dry year is interfering with pollen production. And if you're a cedar sufferer, you're not complaining.
Brought to you in part by Pontiac.
About 100,000 Americans will go under the knife for gastric bypass surgery this year. It is one of the most difficult surgeries for doctors to perform. Now, a robot is making the surgery easier on both doctors and patients.
More and more Americans are fighting the battle of the bulge. James Hampton has almost won his war. He has lost more than 125 pounds.
I already lost, 3 little kids, 3 50-pound kids.
He used to weigh 460 pounds, but gastric bypass surgery gave him his life back.
Every day what it was like before the surgery, painful, miserable, depressed.
Come up here. James' surgery was a success, but it was different than most procedures. His surgeon was a robot. Researchers at Stanford University are among the first in the country to perform a laparoscopic robot gastric bypass.
Can you hold this?
A surgeon sits at a special station and controls every move the robot makes.
The robot actually does the surgery itself. So we use the robot to pick up the intestine and run the intestine, and we use the robot to suture the intestine.
Dr. Miriam Curat says the robot uses more precise instruments and allows surgeons to see the organs in 3D. It also reduces operating time.
The technology is great, an opportunity to do something that's great for the patient in a way that makes it safer, easier, more precise.
Now James is off the 14 medications he used to take and is a lot healthier.
I realized I could cross my legs.
And that was just the beginning.
The robot costs about $1 million. Dr. Curat says there still needs to be research conducted to determine the cost effectiveness.
Coming up new on the Night Beat, we're going to have the latest on this robbery shootout we've been telling you about all afternoon. Plus, they get caught trying to cross the border, but eventually let go after being told to appear in court. Tonight, we're going to return to the border to see how law enforcement is changing the way they handle those immigrants dubbed as OTMs, or other than Mexicans. That story and much more new on the Night Beat, following Primetime Live.
Check on traffic on this Thursday evening. A live look at TransGuide. This is 410 at Cherry Ridge. Traffic heavy, but moving smoothly.
So I guess, Steve and I can expect our coal.
I don't get to
Leslie.
choose that. No, absolutely not.
That's what you got, Steve.
He wanted it.
Of course I did.
He was nice and got coal.
Exactly.
All right.
Need it for my barbecue.
Yeah,
My
see?
tradition on Christmas Day.
Yeah. I did not get Steve Brown coal. Let me just say that right
2
now.
lumps not going to go very far, but
yeah.
All right.
I think she's sending a message. She's denying it now, Steve, but she's sending you a message.
We're visiting, revisiting South Texas snow. The theme today, snow animals. There's Rin Tin Tin in the snow. There is
that puppy.
Sparky in the snow. This is last year at this time. Out in the background there should be some cows mooing away and dolphins in the snow down at Port Aransas.
They look frozen solid.
I know. And last but not least, a snowman. And this was made on Christmas Day, 2004, 1 year ago, when we got pasted across deep South Texas, but not up here in San Antonio, but up to a foot of snow down Hallettsville, down through Victoria, Yorktown area, Cuero. They all got clobbered with deep snow. Temperature outside right now, too warm for snow. It's 60 degrees. Winds out of the south now at 8 miles an hour. So we're getting a return flow off the Gulf of Mexico. It was cold this morning. We got all the way down to 32 degrees, but it warmed up nicely this afternoon to 65 at the airport, and no rain today. The moisture movie shows that we have a lot of moisture coming in on the west coast again. It's getting strained out by the Rockies out there. They're saying the snowpack is great for the skiers, and lots of snow in Colorado. In fact, the snowpack is actually above normal. That's what they're reporting. And the east now finally getting a chance to warm up after they get the subways going again. Things are going to be warming up in New York. They had a cold, tough week there by foot. With that transit strike in the Big Apple. We have clear skies here, and we'll have some clouds around tomorrow morning because it looks like the return flow coming in off the Gulf will bring in enough moisture so that we'll get that deck of morning low clouds that we sometimes get. Dew points are still fairly low here, but you can see along the coastline, dew points are up in the 40s now, so they'll be climbing overnight, and the temperature and the dew point are going to be coming close together by tomorrow morning, so we'll probably have a lot of clouds around then. Temperatures up to 61 in Miami. The East Coast fairly cool, but not as cold as it has been. Above freezing now in the Big Apple, also in Chicago, where it was so cold earlier in the week. And you can see across the Rocky Mountain states, relatively mild in low elevations, but the high elevations are mighty cold. High pressure on the East Coast controlling our weather right now. Clockwise circulation around high pressure. I made the mistake yesterday of saying it's counterclockwise around high pressure, and it was just a misspeak, but it's clockwise always here in the northern hemisphere. So we get this airflow coming up from the southwest, and the mild air will be spreading to the east coast. We're going to be quite warm here tomorrow afternoon after the clouds. I think the sun will come out. Then this front's coming through, but this is a Pacific front. Doesn't have much moisture with it. Behind it, the air dries out again. We'll have a spotless day Sunday, Christmas Sunday, and it will be still quite mild, even behind the front. Tomorrow morning, cold, but not as cold as this morning. 42 for a low temperature with a lot of clouds around then. And by tomorrow afternoon, we're warming up into the low 70s, even the high 70s, close to 80 down at Cotulla and Beeville tomorrow afternoon. So for tonight, we're going to have fair skies this evening, late night, after midnight, some clouds. And tomorrow morning, morning clouds, afternoon sunshine, 72 for a high. And if you don't like 72, try 72. 68. And then 5-day forecast, it actually does get warmer early next week. We'll have some chilly nights, but the days are going to be up in the mid-70s. Big problem, no rain. We're going to get about half of our normal rainfall for 2005, about 16.5 inches. Normally we get 33 inches. We are way behind.
We need rain.
Yes, we do.
Thanks.
Spurs needed a win last night after that disappointing loss against Milwaukee, and boy, did they get it.
Yeah, you know, when you get mad, it's amazing at what a player can do. For example, Kobe Bryant dropped 62 the other night because he was mad. Well, the Spurs as a team were mad, and boy, did they ever take it out on the Knicks. And this Santa is fabulous. I'll explain coming up next.
From Spangdahlem Air Force Base, Germany. And I'm saying hello and happy holidays to my family and friends in San Antonio, Texas. Go Spurs.
Thank you, Santa. Oh.
There we go.
Bye, boys.
A very tall Santa makes some very special deliveries in big board sports, but first. The Spurs are good, but when they're mad, watch out. Last night, the New York Knicks found that out in a bad way. And from the get-go, Michael Finley set the pace. Finley made 8 of 12 shots, including 3 of 6 from beyond the arc to lead the Spurs with 19 points. Tony Parker was also very angry after 2 straight losses. Tony dishing out 10 assists and scoring 18 of his own. In fact, the Spurs guard play was so good, Tim Duncan was only needed for 21 minutes, scoring just 13. The Spurs shoot 56%, led by 32 points at one stage of the game, and they roll 109-96, finally winning the second game of back-to-back. So after a day of rest today, the Spurs will play the Raptors tomorrow night. They host them at the SBC Center at 7:30. Once again, Elf Louise and the Spurs are putting smiles on the faces this holiday season. Spurs forward Fabricio Oberto, dressed like Santa, delivered gifts to 5 families at the Cheryl West Apartments. Santa Oberto spent time with each family, handed out toys and tickets to an upcoming Spurs game. This is the 7th year the Spurs and Elf Louise Christmas Project have teamed up to deliver toys to underprivileged families. Right now, football is the last thing on the mind of Colts head coach Tony Dungy. Early this morning, Dungy learned that his oldest child, 18-year-old James Dungy, was found dead in his apartment in Tampa. James Dungy's girlfriend found him at his apartment about 1:30 this morning, and he wasn't breathing. He was later rushed to a hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. A police spokeswoman says it appears James Dungy took his own life, but the cause of death will not be known until an autopsy is performed.
If you are a parent, there aren't any words to express the kind of pain that I'm sure they're feeling.
To have to go through something like this, and I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what it would be like to lose a son.
He and his family are in our thoughts and prayers during this time, and so that's kind of the mood of the players right now.
Upon hearing the news, Tony Dungy and his wife Lauren left for Tampa early this morning. The Colts say Tony can take off as much time as needed, and that assistant head coach Jim Caldwell will serve as head coach until Tony returns. With the season just about over and no hope for the playoffs, the Saints made a quarterback change last week. Head coach Jim Haslett told Aaron Brooks to take a seat for the remainder of the season, handing the ball over to 8-year pro Todd Bowman. And Bowman didn't do well numbers-wise, tossing 4 picks and 1 touchdown. And one guy who wasn't happy with the change is wideout Joe Horn.
He's laid back, chill, but he's a leader. He has the leader qualities, just like AB had. I mean, you're not going to get a Joe Horn quote that the difference between Aaron Brooks and Todd Bowman, that's another controversy. That's not going to happen. I love both Aaron Brooks and Todd Bowman. If AB was still the quarterback, I'd say the same thing.
Bowman will look to do better this Saturday right here at the Alamo Dome against the Detroit Lions. And look at former Spurs star Artis Gilmore getting down and dirty with Habitat for Humanity. The A-Train, along with Bill Walton, Pete Maravich, Willis Reed, Bob Pettit, and a couple of WNBA players lending a hand to help rebuild New Orleans.
That's nice.
Indeed.
All right, thanks, Larry.
We'll be right back.
Illegal immigration is on Congress's short list, which means more cash to control our borders. Tonight at 10, we'll take you south to see how border agents are dealing with the latest threats on KSAT 12's Night Beat, right after Primetime Live.
Beauty secrets hidden on the grocery store shelves.
We're looking for skim milk here.
Bananas, honey, eggs, foods you never knew could make you beautiful. Watch the next Inside Edition.
Tonight at 10:35.
It's all our time for the 6. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you on the Night Beat at 10.